Tighten your lines as we get ready to sail the seven seas on the Political Pirate Podcast. Join Captain Ted Yoho and the salty dog John Martin as they search far and wide for the greatest treasure of all, the truth. From local Florida news to nationwide stories and the globe beyond, we've got it all mapped out. Now here's your hosts, the salty dog John Martin and Captain Ted Yoho.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Three Ps, the Political Pirate Podcast, with yours truly here, the old salty dog, John Martin, and the captain of our pirate ship, who is traveling to NASA, to Kennedy Space Center as we speak, to participate in an event. We'll let him explain it here in just a second. But the captain of our ship, none other than Ted Yoho. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning, John. I am steering my ship down to NASA. I'm going to catch the Artemis 2 as it comes down.
Absolutely. Well, today, I like to call it Shotgun Day, Ted. Now, it's should be a national holiday because it's 410, which is the shotgun I grew up with, a 410. So today is Shotgun Day. But people always ask me about what I do on the weekends and fishing trips and whatnot. Well, I'll show you. I'm not going this weekend. The weather's going to be kind of rough. But last weekend, I caught what you'll see pictured up here, a 17.7 pound red grouper out in the Gulf of America. And that was the jackpot, baby, the jackpot winning fish. And if you want to be part of a winning team, then you need to hook up with us here at the Three Ps, the Political Pirate Podcast, and make that call you see on the screen right there. Call Freddie, become a supporter of the show, and help us keep this message moving forward to educate, motivate, and activate people, because we absolutely need you. I see Ted is muted again. We may have lost him. Well, he's traveling, so hopefully we'll get him back on. But the first part of the show we're going to talk about here today is, there he is. Welcome back, Ted. Okay.
Can you hear me?
We hear you now, Ted. Well, welcome back. I was just telling
I appreciate
people about the fishing trips I do and all that. But since we got you back, you're on your way to the Kennedy Space Center. Tell us what you're doing down there today.
Well, I want to jump in where you said, our job is to educate, motivate, and activate people. I can't tell you, and I think everybody understands what's going on in the world today, world politics, our politics, domestic politics, how it's more critical now than any other time in my history that we are well educated to what's going on. I am going down to the Kennedy Space Center. There's an organization called the USGLC, which stands for the United States Global Leadership Coalition. And what they do is they bring people together on good policy that moves America to the direction of making us more stronger, safer, more prosperous. And I'm going to be the MC at the event. There'll be probably 400 or 500 people there. And I'm introducing Mike Herodopoulos, who is in his first term. And people that know Florida politics, Mike served as a Florida legislator in the House for 3 years and then 9 years in the Senate. And he was the Senate president from 2010 to 2012. And he has taken over a good friend of mine, Bill Posey's position in the 8th district down there. And it's all about policy and moving America forward and keeping us engaged in the world in a strong, positive way.
Well, I've met Mr. Herodopoulos a couple of times in the past. I don't know if he'd remember me or not, but
sure they would, John.
I've always appreciated him. And I tell you one thing, and I mean this with affection. If you had about 20 guys standing up and you said, okay, pick out the one whose last name is Herodopoulos, I think you'd pick him out of the lineup because his hair is Adopoulos, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I've never had that moniker that I could claim.
Yeah, they would. I don't think they would pick you out, Ted. They would pick out Mr. Herodopoulos, though. I'd be willing to bet. Well, I appreciate you going down there, and because obviously it's a great time for doing it with all that's happening with Artemis, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more later in the show. but the mission about bringing peace and prosperity, I mean, Lord help us, do we need that? And we're seeing contrasts of that all over the place, which is kind of what we're going to talk about today. So I created the title for this first part about it. Should 47th be 25th? In other words, should the President Trump be the 25th Amendment be executed on him because he is, like we said last week, either unleashed or unhinged, depending on what you think about it. But the Democrats have really come out and started calling for the 25th Amendment now. They've been a little bit, there've always been a few calling for it, but now it is a chorus that's come out. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out now and said that. So what are your thoughts on that in general, Ted? And then we'll get into some specific stuff.
Well, I don't have a lot of respect for Marjorie Taylor Greene, somebody that was elected and was hired to serve 2 years, steps down because she got her feelings hurt. She has no opinion worth listening to. As far as the Democrats, it's a shame they had a president for 4 years that should never have been the president, and they all huddled around him to protect him. I got testimony in Foreign Affairs twice here, and it was about the dismantling of USAID, and there was a lot of turning heads. Oh, woe is me! How dare us get rid of programs and humanitarian programs? The truth is, the USAID had gone beyond its original purpose. It lost its purity of purpose, and so people wanted the changes, but they didn't want to do it as drastic as Trump did. And I argued, yeah, these are drastic changes, and yeah, they are going to hurt some people. But to try to do it in a 4-year presidential term, you couldn't do it, because if he loses the majority in the House and or Senate or both, these changes would never happen. And so sometimes the best way to do it is rip the Band-Aid off, get over the pain, rebuild, and bring back effective and efficient foreign policy and assistance programs that are an investment and not an expense and a liability to America. And that's exactly what he's doing on the world stage. 47 years, Iran has said they're going to blow us up. And it's interesting because 47 years Iran's been doing this, and this is the 47th president of the United States. And then you think of the changes, NATO, they were slackers up till Trump's first administration. He got them to pay up. And now they're not standing up. And we're the ones in Ukraine, and they were just kind of on the sideline cheering us on. And so I say all that, John, just to say the world order is being challenged. It was being challenged before any of this happened by Russia and by China. And Tehran and Iran, they were just the instigators of the leading sponsor of state terrorism. And that's not just a buzzword, that's fact. And so how long do you wait to start correcting things? And I think the best thing to do is turn the bucket over, shake everything out, and rebuild it. And that's where we're at. So people have to stay strong. And as far as the 25th Amendment for this president, give me a break. Let's get through what we're doing. You don't talk about those things in the middle of what's going on. You rally behind it. Let's fix it. And that's what Europe did or England did with Churchill. They got rid of him as soon as the war was over, but boy, they sure needed him.
Yeah, well, one of the things that President Trump has done, and you mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene and NATO and all of that, it spurred me as usual on a thought there that basically what Trump has done is he's ripped the bandage off, and not peeled it off slowly. He's torn the scab off and the pus is coming out. He has exposed.
That's pretty graphic, John.
But he's exposed the rot that is in there, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's been exposed now, in my opinion, because it's pretty obvious that all she is trying to do is to become an influencer. She wants some of that Tucker Carlson Qatar money. That's what I predict. She's going to have her own show and try to raise money off of that, because if you look at, and she's going to come out anti-Semitic at some point if she hasn't already. Mark my words. I hope I'm wrong, but I believe I'm right. And then NATO has been totally exposed. And the thing about NATO, because they talk about Russia, well, Russia's not dummies. It's not like they didn't know. They have a great intelligence service, and they know that NATO's been a paper tiger, and that the only thing that's really been shown by the United States is we are the heart and soul of it, and Russia already knew that. But think about this, Ted. Not only has NATO not really helped us in general, I'm painting with a broad brush, but if you look at it, France has been exposed that their shipping. One of the reasons they don't respond is their ships aren't even hardly functional. The once proud British Navy is nothing like it used to be. You know what scares me about that, Ted? All of that is because Europe is becoming, if you think about it and look at their current military status, their only true defense against somebody like Russia is nuclear. Because the rest of it, they'd be overwhelmed in a day.
Oh, they would be. I mean, Russia could march in there. They've got a very active, very well-trained army. You look at the countries in the EU, they haven't been to war per se like we have. Not that I think we should be in wars, but they're underprepared. And you've heard me say this, and listeners have heard me say this many a times when I met with that Japanese legislator before Trump got elected the second time. He said, you guys are known as the divided face of America. If you're divided, you're weakened. And if you're weakened, it puts us in jeopardy. And he even said, if China moves on Taiwan, it brings them into a war with China. So that brings us into a war. So World War III is here. So all that, I bring that up because that was going on before where we're at now. That was under the Biden administration. And, coming out of Obama and that, the country was peeling apart. And so this legislator said that. And so if we were weakened as a nation and the NATO alliance was weakened, as you said, Russia knew it, China knew it, they knew it was a paper tiger. How long do you let it just smolder and decay? Trump has really exposed all of that and calling these people out, and there will be a new order in the world. And I hope it's a peaceful one. I hope we get through this, and I think everybody else feels that way too. But we do not need to cede second place to anybody, but we are with the policies over the last 12, 15 years. Certainly since Obama.
Talking about NATO that's been exposed, I don't know if you saw this, but there are reports coming out, that, of course, Iran has been building up their missile defense. We know that. That's pretty obvious. Well, right. And their drone capability. Well, apparently it takes a certain level, what they call military level steel to build that kind of stuff. You can't just build it out of scrap metal and all. And apparently, they've been getting that steel, Ted, from guess where? Spain. Spain.
Well.
Spain has been orchestrating shipments of steel to Iran. That's the reports that are coming out. And
sure.
if that is true, that's beyond just not participating. That is being treasonous, if you want to call it that, to the NATO agreement, because they're actually helping our enemy.
Abating and aiding our adversary. Keep in mind that Spain is becoming a Muslim-dominant country. There's the Islamification going on around the world, and it's happening here in America. So there's a lot of moving parts. You've got that social divide in our country fueled by Islamists, fueled by the Chinese Communist Party, the George Soroses, all these people that hate America. And it just pains me that we have American citizens are involved in that. But then you throw in what's going on, like with Spain, they're starting to side with these other countries. Look at what Mark Carney of Great Britain said. He was going to help Cuba relieve their energy by shipping oil down there, bypassing America, going right down there. They're a big oil producer through fracking. And, that goes against exactly what we're trying to do. So you look at all the moving parts, and you've got Venezuela, you've got Cuba, you've got what's going on in the Middle East, Ukraine. And so do you want to have the argument around the 25th president, or the 25th Amendment on this president? in the midst of this, or do you want to rally behind him as Americans and say, let's get this job done and move on to the next chapter?
Well, it's there for a second, but it's interesting, Ted, how history kind of, the old saying, repeats itself, because the last major Islamic takeover of parts of Europe started in Spain as well. So,
It sure did.
it's kind of the Moors. It's kind of interesting how that is.
There
But
were
back
over
to
7 crusades between Christians and Muslims or Islam over since probably the 900s to the fall of the Ottoman Empire. I think it was in the 1800s, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Well, getting back to this 25th Amendment. To me, the Democrats really have no credibility in this because I'm going to play a couple of videos that I think I mean, there's a ton of them out there, but I'm going to play two of them basically back to back that proves exactly this point. So everybody can see that Biden was dysfunctional and mentally incapable and physically, the falling the stairs, all the stuff. So we'll show a little bit of that in a minute. But before he ever became president, the Democratic Party establishment knew that Biden was not capable of being president. I want to play this video. Let me set it up because it's a short clip. This is a meeting that took place like a Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting between Democratic Party leadership leading into Biden's election, and it's led by Terry McAuliffe, who was the chair of the Democratic Party then, who used to be basically a bag man for the Clinton. Nobody knows Democratic politics better than Terry McAuliffe. Of course, he ran for governor, I think became governor of Virginia and all that. But here he is.
He sure did.
Talking, Ted, to the party apparatus about Biden's candidacy and what they should do. Check this out, and I'll turn it back to you when we come back, Ted. Check this out. Pretty short.
People say all the time, oh, we got to get the vice president out of the basement. He's fine in the basement. 2 people see him a day, his 2 body people. That's it.
And Ted, there you have it. You have Terry McAuliffe. I'm going to say again, this guy knows every inch of the Democratic Party apparatus. And he said specifically to other Democratic leaders, we need to keep Biden in the basement. Take it off, Ted. Take away.
2 things about Terry McAuliffe. Number one, he was the governor of Virginia, and he's the one that went after the parents standing up, protesting, and going after the school boards about all this DEI, wokeism, and transgender school boards teaching this. And he was the Obama. He also was the one that was for the open immigration and all that. But what he says in here, just plainly for people to see that they viewed Biden as the protesters in these King's rally where they all show up with their signs. They viewed him as a useful idiot. And I mean, I don't know how anybody else can look at it that way. And it's just shameful and unconscionable that one of the major political parties in America would put somebody up there that inept, that deranged to be the president of this country. And it was all run through Obama, Eric Holder, Valerie Jett. And I mean, Terry McAuliffe says it right there. I mean, it's very obvious. And they want to invoke the 25th Amendment. Give me a break.
Yeah, and I want to make sure people understand that video we just showed was before Biden actually got elected. So they knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was not capable of day-to-day being president. That video proves it. And, there's a bunch of gaffe videos we could show you, but I want to show you one here, Ted, that I don't think too many people have seen this. This is Biden during his presidency talking about short-term memory loss. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer is making a presentation. He turns and shakes Biden's hand. It's kind of quick. But then Biden completely forgets that he shook his hand and is trying to look for him to shake again. Check this out, and you'll see just how off the chain incompetent Biden was, and we'll come back and talk about it. It's only about 10 seconds. I mean, Ted, talk about short-term memory. I mean, he literally shakes his hand. Schumer turns, I think, to maybe shake Pelosi's hand, and Biden's looking around going, like, shake my. I mean, he literally had short-term memory. He had no memory.
He really didn't. And that was early on in his presidency, I believe. You know, the only thing I can think of is he got into Hunter Biden's medical bag was
No
self-medicating.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. But I say Dems have no credibility on this. But
They have no credibility and they have no ethics. They have no shame.
Absolutely.
They want power. They want absolute power. And then you look at their agenda, and I know you're going to bring up Madami, and you know you can throw the whole squad in there, AOC, and all the nonsense those people talk about. That's what the Democrats stand for: open borders. I mean, just look at what happened under them and what we're dealing with today. That's all because of them. And Iran too, under Obama and Biden, they gave them, I think it was, I forget how many billions of dollars, but it was a lot. It's over 6 billion, I know.
Well, you mentioned about the borders. What gets me about that, Ted, is you hear them all talking about ICE, and we're going to talk more about that in another segment here in a minute. But they talk about ICE, but they'll say, "But we were all for closing the border." But you never heard them say a dadgum word about it while it was happening. None. It was crickets. And of course,
that's what a true politician is. They tell you what you want to hear and have no intention of following through. And there's that on both sides.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Worse on the Democrats.
Well, let's get back to President Trump and this whole 25th Amendment thing. So the thing that President Trump is being beaten up about is the comment he made over Easter about the destruction of an entire civilization and all of that. And you and I talked about that on a previous show. I don't always like some of the language that President Trump uses, but what really got me is when you looked at what happened, I think it was Tuesday through Wednesday there, when this ceasefire come, they were all like, President Trump is a madman. You know, he's going to destroy a civilization. And then when he backed off, they said, oh, he's a coward. He's a chicken. I mean, the man cannot win. But when you start talking about, you know, destroying a civilization, first of all, Ted, if you're talking about the Persian civilization, which is a great historic civilization, it wasn't Donald Trump that destroyed the Persian civilization. That's easy for me to say. It was the Islamists. It was the Islamists, the mullahs. They've destroyed the Persian civilization already.
You know what? That is a great analogy of the liberals bringing all these other, instead of just looking at America as Americans, they want to bring in the Latinos, the minorities, the underserved, all these groups to work against the conservative Americans, the true patriots of this country. And then what'll happen is when those groups get in charge, they're going to eliminate that other group. And that's what happened, exactly what happened with the Persian Empire. They sided with the wrong people, and those people turned around and eliminated them.
Absolutely. And then, you know, as far as destroying, and they talk about war crimes, I want to play a video now. This is prior to our latest attacks on Iran. This is the Iranian parliament, and they're speaking Farsi, but it's what they're saying is death to America. This is the entire Iranian parliament. Check this out. I mean, it's pretty clear, Ted, how they feel about us. Talk about destroying a civilization, and we don't even want to start at what they're saying about Israel, which has literally wiped them off the map. I mean, how much plainer do they have to be than that, Ted?
You know, that's been going on for 47 years, John. And back then, they had no ballistic missiles. They had no uranium, no nuclear program. Now you move 47 years ahead. They had over 900 pounds of over 60% enriched uranium. They had ICBMs capable of carrying nuclear weapons. And so something had to be done. We can all debate, was this the best way to do it? We can debate that, but the bottom line is something had to be done, and it's being done. And I'm not going to go against my quarterback right now. I'm going to do everything I can to block and protect them.
Well, another criticism that they're hammering Trump on is they say, well, he said we destroyed their nuclear capability. And he did say that, and we did destroy it. But in the negotiations that we had with them prior to our latest attacks on Iran, they said they still had enough to make, this is Iran said this, not America, said they had enough enriched uranium to build 11 to 12 nuclear bombs. That's what they said. And they said they were going to continue to enrich it and get access to it. So even though it may be buried in the ground under rubble, they said, they being Iran, not the United States, that they had the capability of building 11 to 12 nuclear missiles. And as we've said before, there's no question they'd use them if they had them.
Oh, they would. And if people will go back before Trump went in there, where they use the stealth fighters, and I forget what the name of that, Iron Hammer or something like that, the first strike he did on their plans. If you look at the satellite imagery, prior to that, there were massive amounts of trucks taking stuff out of those places. So they more than likely still have that material. And, we just have to make sure we bring this to a complete and total ending, kind of like World War II. And I know you have a video of one of our strong presidents of the past.
Yeah,
coming
because,
up.
And I'm going to play it right now in just a second. I want to set it up.
I teed you up. I did that on purpose.
You're that's why you're the captain, sir, and I'm just rowing the boat, baby. Row well and live. But anyway, so they talk about Donald Trump, and of course his rhetoric is over the top. Some others for sure. But by the way, I want to point this out. I'm not going to play a video. This whole thing about Trump cursing, I don't like it either. But the Democrats have been saying F Trump literally from the House floor for the last going on 6, 7, 8 years now. I mean,
sure.
I'm talking about elected officials literally laughing. I don't normally say this, but F Trump, I mean, it's just crazy. So I don't want to hear, I don't like any of that. I don't like when Trump does it. I don't like when they do it. But
you know what? If you go back to when Obama got elected and he did his first State of Union, and you remember when he was talking about Obamacare, there was a congressman from South Carolina, a good friend of mine, Joe Wilson. He yelled, "You lied." And he got censored, and he got in a lot of trouble for saying, "You lied." And then you look at what these people are saying, F you, F that. So the decorum has decreased rapidly over the last 12 years. And we're having a race to the bottom. And, what will happen is there'll be an explosion or implosion, and hopefully some normalcy will come out of that.
Well, Ted, as I always say, ultimately it's our responsibility.
It sure is.
If we elect people that espouse that crap, then they're going to espouse that crap. If that's working on the voters, they're going to continue to do it. So if we want to clean up our politics, we got to vote for different types of people. It's ultimately back on us no matter what.
You know what? And that is so true. These people do not own this position. I was in Congress. I was elected. I was honored to be elected. I had the privilege of being elected 4 times. I don't own that position. That is the seat for the people that elected me. And we have the ability to throw that person out every 2 years. And I think it's time we just start running through these people until you find somebody that is going to be an adult and work on stuff to solve the problems of this nation. And don't worry about party politics, worry about American survival.
Yeah, well, now that I'm no longer a member of the Republican Executive Committee, I can say what I'm about to say. And I don't believe I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say it. Ted.
Go ahead. I dare you.
If John Fetterman runs for re-election, which is what, 2 years from now, I think.
Yeah,
If he
about that.
does, I'm going to donate to him, Ted. I know it's not going to make a huge difference because I'm not going to be donating millions of dollars, but I'm going to donate to John Fetterman's campaign if I'm still alive and he's running in a couple of years. And he stays on the path that he's on now. I'm donating to him. That may hurt him, but I don't know.
Yeah, really. It's just amazing the way we all felt about him in the beginning. He was not qualified, he's liberal, progressive, worse than what we have up there. But now he is the voice of reason for the Democrat Party. I can't think of really many other people that are as willing to get up and speak and talk rational thought on the Democrat side. I really can't.
Well, I got to tell you, Ted, he is beyond that right now. He's beyond just that. He may be the best senator in the current Senate as far as articulating a message that supports the broad path of where America needs to be.
He stays out of the political fray. He really does. Now, I work with some Democrat congressmen and senators, and I know a couple of the congressmen, they look at America as America. They've got more liberal policies than I do. But then you look through the rest of them, and they've fallen into the fray of the Elizabeth Warrens and the Bernie Sanders, the hatred of America, and America's a bad country. Fetterman's not like that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we got a little off track, probably my fault, but the captain's bringing us back.
I'm depending on you there. I just set the course. You got to navigate here, buddy.
Yeah, you throw the pitch out, I got to hit it. Anyway, so back to Trump's rhetoric, okay, and the warning and ending civilization. We've actually heard this before from a former president, and it wasn't the rhetoric as far as the cursing and all that, but I want you to hear this from the President of the United States in probably the most devastating attack that the United States, up until maybe right now, has ever done. Check it out.
There can be no peace in the world until the military power of Japan is destroyed, with the same completeness as was the power of the European dictators. To do that, we are now engaged in a process of deploying millions of our armed forces against Japan in a mass movement of troops and supplies and weapons over 14,000 miles, a military and naval feat unequaled in all history. Substantial portions of Japan's key industrial centers have been leveled to the ground in a series of record incendiary raids. What has already happened to Tokyo will happen to every Japanese city whose industries feed the Japanese war machine. If the Japanese insist on continuing resistance beyond the point of reason, their country will suffer the same destruction as Germany. Our blows will destroy their whole modern industrial plant and organization, which they have built up during the past century, and which they are now devoting to a hopeless cause.
I mean, there you have it, Ted. President Truman basically telling Japan that if they don't surrender, their entire civilization is going to be destroyed. That's what he essentially said right there.
That's not only what he said, that's what he meant. And
that's what he did, actually, to a certain extent.
That's the thing I liked about working with my rural farm clients and, the people that were the working people. What they told you is what they meant. And we've kind of always done that. I told you what I'd do and I did it. It's when I voted against Boehner and people wanted me to, and I did it. People like, I can't believe you did that. And I says, well, I told you I was going to do it, and that's where we got away from previous presidents. Reagan was like that. Reagan was one that says he was hard. I mean, peace through strength. And then you get Bill Clinton that you started to see this decay of American leadership. And then Obama, when you go to Syria, And he drew the red line. If Assad uses chemical weapons against his own people, it's a red line. We'll not tolerate that. Well, guess what? Assad used chemical weapons, and we did nothing. And we're not going to negotiate with terrorists. But guess who negotiated with terrorists? It was Obama and Biden. And, and so we've lost our way, and we became the paper tiger, and Trump's bringing us back. And yeah, it's going to be ugly. There's going to be some things that are going to be very controversial, but the role of the president is national security, number one. And let's get through this. We're here. We're committed. Let's finish it.
We're going to play one more quick video, then we're going to go to break. But, the Democrats are throwing all kind of stuff out here, and we're going to talk about socialism and the Democratic Party when we come back from break. But I want to play a video of another former president and what he said about what the Democrats are basically saying right now, even though this was a few years ago. Play that, and then you can take us to break, Ted.
Democrats have to now decide whether they will continue defrauding the public with ridiculous bullshit. Partisan investigations.
I tricked people a little bit there. He was a former president because that was in his first term. Now he's had the gap in his second term. But I think Trump summed it up. They're just spouting a bunch of ridiculous bullshit, Ted. My words.
They really are. Well, they really are. You look at their policies. They let in everybody illegally. They didn't care who came in. And then they call us racist for trying to clean it up. Give me a break. If they had done their job, it wouldn't have been a problem. Anyways, this is something that's escalating, and it's coming. Go ahead. I know. I don't know if you've ever been in a fight. I have, and I know we know people that have, and we watch fights. And you know how they start off kind of, oh, yeah, and I'm going to do this. Yeah, okay. And it escalates. Most people will walk away at a certain point. But at some point, the conflict happens. And we're there now. We're challenged. I mean, he laid the gauntlet down and laid the line down, and he's not backing up. If they do not open the Straits of Hormuz, there is going to be a price for them to pay.
Well, I'll give you a big citism on that, Ted. You asked about fighting. My daddy told me a long time ago. He said, son, a wise man tries to walk away from a fight. But if you absolutely have to fight, there's only one way. There's only one type of fair fight, and that is one that you win. You win. So anything, once it comes to a fight, anything at the table, is on the table. And it's only fair fight if you win. Because he said he never lost a fair fight.
My dad always said, any fool can fight. It takes a man to walk away. Well, there was many where I was the fool until I learned.
Well, we went kind of long in this segment, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. Please make the call. Call Freddie. Become a part of this team. Help us to wake America up, because that's really what we're trying to do here. Take us to break, Ted.
Now we look forward to talking to you when you come back, and or when we come back. You're not going anywhere. But what we really want you to do too is share our podcast far and wide with your email chain, and just send it. Say, hey, I've listened to these guys, or I may be supporting these guys. Listen to them, and if you like it, join their team. Think about being a sponsor. Go ahead, John.
We'll be right back.
There, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, plus you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
And we're back to the 3 Ps, the Political Pirate Podcast. We thank the old ball coach there, Steve Spurrier, and Spurrier's Gridiron Grill for being a sponsor of the show. Ted is on the road today traveling, but he's with us. He's going down to Cape Canaveral to the Kennedy Space Center to head up a group down there. But when we went to break, we were talking about a lot of crazy things, the Democrats, how they're responding to Trump. I want to switch gears slightly. It's still a bit crazy, but I'm titling this The Blessings of Socialism. Not, and I hope you can see this meme up there, because it really shows it. This meme, I don't know if you've been able to see it, Ted, but it shows it all.
Yeah, I saw it.
Really committing suicide, socialism is. But, you brought up, you sent this story to me about Mandami, and we're going to talk about several political leaders here throughout the rest of the show. But I want to play this video of Mr. Mandami when he was running for office for mayor, what he said about something free. Check it out.
We will make buses free. The commitment to make the slowest buses in America fast and to make them free. I'll make buses fast and free. That bus is going to be free.
We're gonna make buses fast, and
We will make buses free. The commitment to make the slowest buses in America
But Ted,
fast
he
and to make them
promised
free. I'll make
free
buses
buses,
fast
right?
and free.
That bus is going to
be free.
Everybody wants something free, I guess. But he promised free. But now, Ted, and we'll play one more quick video and turn it back to you. Now, well, let's just play it. I think it speaks for itself. Check this out. You're not ready? It's okay.
New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani suggested his plan of making buses free throughout the city may take a while to implement. In an interview with Politico, the mayor agreed that the promise of free bus fare is something he will most likely not be able to achieve until next year.
Instead, he's touting a limited fare pilot program that he views as a first step toward eventually making the buses free for everyone. Mamdani stated, quote, "I'm absolutely committed to making buses fast and free, and we're encouraged by the conversations we're having with the governor and legislative leaders to take action on that in 2026 as a first step." The idea of free buses.
So he promised when he was running, Ted, imagine this, everything's going to be free, but then he gets in there and now maybe not so much.
Imagine that. Do you see any parallels here, John? If we go back to 2009, when that young, articulate, good-looking black man, as Biden said, he's articulate too, said, hope and change, Obamacare, free health care. If you like your doctor, you can keep them. If you like your insurance company, you can keep it. It was all lies. The insurance industry and the healthcare system in this country is so screwed up. A creature grew out of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, called pharmacy benefit managers. That is the culprit behind the high cost of these drugs. And they've taken over pretty much the healthcare because they dictate what drugs you can and can't use, and they make the insurance company approve them. But then you move on to other things that he said that, you just look at what they told us, and it was all lies. And Madami, he's just a repeat and rehashing stuff they've said over and over again. And it's amazing because history is not learned and it's repeated. And you look at a generation from when Obama was, that was what, 2010 to, oh, heck, I can't remember. When Trump first came in 2016, I guess it would have been 2008. How far away were we moved from that? 18 years. So we've got a new generation growing up, 18 years old, first election, and they don't remember any of that. They were never taught any of that. And if they were taught it, they weren't taught both sides so that they could have a rational thinking process to where they knew that this stuff is just all BS. Hope and change. It's going to be good.
Well, the thing about it too, they blame some of this on Biden, and now, of course, they've elevated it. The press has to a new level under Trump, is the weaponization of government, right, against political opponents. But that started with Obama. Obama
sure did.
Weaponized government. He attacked the Tea Party. Remember what they did with the IRS? And this
I
is
sure
why
do.
shows like ours are critical, because I agree with you. People have a short memory, and the press, if they look at the press, they don't preach it enough. They don't show it enough. It's all about Trump weaponizing government. And I'm not saying he is not somewhat guilty of some of that, but if anything, they learned it from the master, which was Obama. And one more thing, and I'll turn it back to you, Ted. Think about this. It was Obama that tapped the phones in Congress that the reporters were using to report back. They tapped those phones of the press. Can you imagine if Donald Trump's administration tapped the phones of the press? Oh my God.
Oh, I can. And the weaponization, I mean, that's always gone on in politics. I think probably back in the beginning of the first two politicians. You look at J. Edgar Hoover, he had dirt on everybody, but it was never weaponized from the executive branch via the office of the president until Obama. He's the one that ordered those wiretaps. He's the one that was behind the attack after Trump. What did they call it? Hurricane Fury or something like that. And he was the one that did that. And Biden was doing it worse. Of course, that was really Obama doing it under Biden. He was, again, their useful idiot. And so this is how, and again, the whole point of this is you look at how we're going down a dark tunnel here that is not good, because it's de-escalate, not de-escalate, de-escalating in the form of a well-run government. It's getting worse and worse is what's happening, and people know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Throw them all
another
out.
thing, another thing they accused the President Trump of is dividing America. He's dividing America. He's a racist, all of this kind of stuff. So I'm not even going to defend that one way or another. I'm going to play a video right now of Mamdani, who is now the mayor of New York. And I'll ask you when we come back, who is dividing this country? Trump may be, if you want to call it that. I don't think he is, but let's just say he is. Well, he ain't the only one. Check this out.
There's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed.
So no plans to change that language on your website.
The focus here is to actually ensure a fair property tax system, and that the use of that language is just an assessment of the neighborhood.
Well, President Trump got criticized in his first campaign for telling black people in a church, you might as well vote for me. What do you got to lose? And that was like, and all that. Here you got Mamdani literally saying that we're going to tax white people more than people of color. I mean, how much plainer does it have to be?
I mean, that's right out in front of you. I mean, the best way to avoid an argument is just tell them what you plan to do. And I mean, Obama did that. We're hoping change. We're going to do this and that. And people didn't believe him. Mamdani's saying it, and he's doing it. And this is where, people need to wake up, because it's what we've talked about so many times on this program, where they tell you what they're going to do, and people say, well, he doesn't really mean that. No, he really does mean that, and he's doing that, and he's going to get all the people that the AOCs and the Pamela J. Paul and say, oh, we've got to get together. We've got to stand together, us minorities, as people of color, and anybody that's not a white patriarchy, we need to stand together. And then when you stand together, do you think Mamdani is going to stop at white, wealthy neighborhoods? Or is he going to start going after white, wealthy Christians, and then poor Christians, and then move the Islamic ideology in here? And that's something we need to do a show on, is what's happening in Congress. I think I sent you some things on that, but let's continue this one where you have it mapped out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely do that. So Joy Reid, I got to keep on this theme. Joy Reid put out a post.
Let me sit down and get my pen and paper out, because I know she's a good source of information.
He said that supporting Trump and MAGA, there it is right there, that he's going to do away with income tax. He's going to have less regulation. He's going to allow people to keep what they earn. Imagine that, and leave the money to their family when they die. I mean, that damn Trump. I mean, my God, I can't even believe that's controversial, but apparently it is.
We ought to use her for a spokesperson for the Republican Party, for the conservative American.
Yeah, no joy in Ms. Reed.
Yes.
But Ted, to be fair to Mr. Mandami, okay, we try to be fair here. You know, look at this, right? Newsom. This meme, we're not going to go every bit of it, but if you look at it, it's very true. It basically shows the accomplishments under President Trump and the accomplishments in California under Newsom. It's hard to believe, man. But there is another picture, you know, the Artemis mission. And I know the Democrats are going to freak out when they see the latest shot from the backside of the moon. Check this out. It's Trump 2028. Somehow that got on the backside of the moon. I don't know, man. But you'll be welcome at Artemis home today, Ted. What are your thoughts?
We sure will. Well, I just think it's just such a stark contrast between what the political radical left is wanting to offer, and you just need to understand they're not the Democrats of like John's dad, Sid Martin, who was a great legislator and did a lot for the state of Florida and was a great American. These people today are the Marxists that grew up out of the 60s hippie era, the people that went to Berkeley and Stanford and all these liberal colleges, Columbia up there in DC or New York. These are the people that are in power now. And, you know, it's just, you don't want to trust them. You can't trust them. If they're talking, they're lying. And this goes to Iran too. Anything Iran tells you, they're lying. CCP, they were lying. And it's been proven over and over again. And so somebody has to be the adult and make the tough decisions. And I'm glad we got a president like Truman that's making tough decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned about the Democrats. I mean, the reality is that JFK would be MAGA now, I guess. I mean,
JFK would never have been elected in this environment today. Yeah, I mean, listen, the one thing he did, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? I mean, that inspired me as a kid. You know, we're all Americans. Yeah, let's be the best we can be, you know, in the space program. But now if you were to say that to somebody today, it's like, oh, well, why should I have to do it? They're a rich white neighborhood. They should pay for my education and my health care and all my children that I don't have to, and I don't have to hold the baby's daddy accountable.
Well, you know, the Democrats have simplified. They've simplified Kennedy's statement.
They just become simple.
Yeah, well, they've shortened it to the version of what's in it for me. That's the new.
That's Kennedy. Exactly what it is.
What's in it for me?
There's a guy on the internet. What's his name? Michael Risch or Richard Risch. He used to be something in the Obama administration and maybe the Clinton. And he's got a video out there just saying, "Oh, Trump needs to be thrown out for the 25th Amendment." And he was a teacher at one of the Ivy Leagues and just been there for a long time. He was one educating people and giving them all this liberal, progressive Nazism, or I won't say Nazism, Marxism ideology. And when you hear him, you can just see he's an angry person because his ideologies are being torn apart and they won't work in this country. I, for one, will not accept it.
Absolutely. Well, I got one more picture to show you.
Please do.
Of a Democratic leader here, because I want to be fair. Check this out, Ted. I know you can't see it, but you actually sent me this picture. This is during the time of Epic Fury, I think what we're calling this. While we've had I think 6 actual soldiers killed, several wounded. Of course, we had those 2 that were injured and we got them back, the airmen. But during that same period of time in Chicago, 308 people were wounded. 97 have been killed in Chicago during the time we've been in this incursion or war, whatever, with Iran. To me, you talk about racist, because I guarantee you the majority of those people wounded and killed were probably Black Americans, residents of Chicago. I mean, if that's not more racist, but they never talk about that. They never talk about that. You know,
Well, J.B. Pritzker and what's that guy's name up to the mayor, Alvin Brown?
No, it's Johnson, I think.
Johnson. Yeah. You know, they say there's no crime here. It's under control. Give me a break. It's, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's shocking to see what's going on. And I think that's a good analogy there, John, of how many people have been damaged or killed with what's going on in Iran now. And what happens in Chicago on a weekend. Keep in mind, the Ayatollahs, the theocracy of Iran, has killed between 30 and 40,000 of their own people just in the last couple months.
And Ted, you're going to love this if you hadn't heard it. So we're talking about Chicago. We're going to close the show out on this. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but it's come out officially now that when Obama's presidential library opens up in Chicago, of all places, you're going to guess what? You're going to have a photo ID to get
Tell me
in
that's
there.
not so.
You're going to have a photo ID to get in, which means automatically, if you believe what the Democrats saying, no Black folks will be able to go in there, especially not Black women, because we know Black women cannot get an ID, especially if they're married and all of that. So no Black people are going to be allowed in Obama's museum because they can't get ID. It's not possible. It's just insane. Is that
right?
Yeah, it's crazy. But I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you today. Please like what we're doing, share what we're doing far and wide. Make that call Freddie, become a supporter of the show, sponsor, help us to wake America up. Take us out, Ted.
No, I think that's a good place. Wake up, America. And as John said, share our website. If you like it, send it out to as many people as you can, and then ask them to watch it. And if they like it, send it out. And we can do a lot. It's the penny doubling every day theory. You can start off with a penny and double it every day. And in 31 days, you'll have over $10 million. And that's what how we want to grow this. So we thank you guys for listening, sharing our word, and look forward to you being a sponsor. Take care. God bless.
Peace out, everybody.